Wayne Sports Network.
It's in the Wayne.
Hello and welcome to Wayne Sports Network. I'm Troy Demikoff alongside Ilian Nunez. It is now week 7 in North Jersey, and it's now time for our second show. So first, we're going to start with Wayne Hills. And Ilian, tell me what you thought about last week.
So I was a bit disappointed, and I think most of our teammates were disappointed about our loss against PV. I think we came out good. We're up 14 going into the half. And I think we're always supposed to be dominant in the second half, but I don't think we brought the energy as we were supposed to. So I also think that having a 4-3, I think we have to come back this week. What are your thoughts, Troy, about the game?
You know, I thought, like you said, really definitely disappointing because, we had the momentum after beating Wayne Valley. And then last week we kind of just sold it. I mean, we came in 4-2, had the lead at halftime, and just blew it. And I thought it was definitely disappointing to see because, as the coaches say every week, I know we had such a great opportunity. And that's just like ones you can't let slip through your fingers. And, I definitely thought one thing we struggled in was establishing our run game. As you can see on the stats, we only had our rushing leader, Johnny Mangelli, only 94 yards, which still, considering how the line played, I mean, he still ran for a pretty good game. And then, tell me what you thought about the passing attack this week.
We had David Van Hook going for 51 yards, Jack Montessori with 1 touchdown from Mikey Fitzsimmons. I think we had a good game, but like you said, we weren't able to establish that run game, which is what we really needed. We can't be only a throwing team. We have to be able to run the ball to be able to get those very crucial yards.
Yeah, and as I asked you about the passing attack, you had Mikey Fitzsimmons throwing for 156 yards and 1 touchdown, which in the first half, the passing attack looked very promising. It looked pretty good. And then I guess PV, they changed up the way they played their defense, and then I guess they were able to shut it down. That kind of forced us to run the ball, which I guess we just didn't do effectively. But on the other hand, I thought the defense, only giving up 0 points to 3 quarters, definitely pretty good. Tell me what you thought about the defense this week.
Our defense played really well. I think it was a couple things in the second half that killed us, from able to attack. Also on the last play against that team. But honestly, I think we did really good stopping them. In the second half, we had at least 4 or 5 drives where it's just pump, because our defense was really doing good out there against their offense.
Yeah, definitely overall. It started off, looked good, and then definitely disappointing loss, and I guess just a disappointing week. But now let's move on to the Wayne Valley Indians, who also suffered a loss last week, as they are now 4-3 on the season. Tell me what you thought about the other side of town's loss first round, bro.
They lost to Ramapo, which is basically always supposed to be a really good program. But I think they did put up a fight. They had Luke Rubino receiving for 134 yards and 1 touchdown. Bryce Flower, 64 yards and 2 touchdowns. And their rushing leader, Eli Estevez, with 96 yards and 1 touchdown. I think they put up good numbers. What are your thoughts, Troy?
You definitely can't forget about Danny Ferrullo throwing for 340 yards and 3 touchdowns, which I think is definitely very impressive. But, that's the kind of game, I watched a little bit. They kind of started off slow versus Ramapo, and like a team like that, you really can't start off slow. You have some weapons like Charlie Wingfield, Casey Grusser, where if you start off slow, it's almost impossible to come back and tie it up. So I definitely think that they had a good week, but not good enough definitely to beat Ramapo.
Yep. Also, I want to preview the next week for Wayne Hills and Wayne Valley. Wayne Hills is playing Old Tapan, which is going to be a very good game. And I think we have to. What are your thoughts about?
I think this is definitely a big week for both teams, for Wayne Hills and Wayne Valley. They both stand at 4-3 right now, but both teams have clinched the playoffs already. But I definitely think what we are, and I'm sure they are too, they're definitely both chasing a home game. And I think what both teams have to do is progress this week from what they did last week to take that next step and get a home game, which we take on Old Tapan, who is definitely undefeated #1 team in public North Jersey right now. So it's going to require a lot, but I definitely think it's possible. And as for Wayne Valley, they take on Mount Olive, who is definitely also a very good program. They beat them twice last year in the regular season, then again in the playoffs. So I think they're going to have to rise up to the occasion if they're going to want to get a home playoff game and beat the Marauders of Mount Olive.
Yeah, definitely what you said about Old Tapan. It's going to be a very tough game, but I still think we can come out with the victory if we use all the key things that we have.
2 rivals in Wayne will now discuss the DePaul Spartans and the PCTI Bulldogs.
Welcome back to Wayne Sports Network. Now that we talked about the rivals of Wayne Hills and Wayne Valley, we're moving to focus on the DePaul Spartans and the PCTI Bulldogs. So this week, DePaul had a bye week. They played Don Bosco. What are your thoughts on that game?
I thought I thought DePaul definitely looked really good in that game. I mean, Elijah Burris having 2 receiving touchdowns, which there's just too many players on that squad where you can't focus on one because then another one will have a good game. I mean, you have Des Jones, Nolan James, and Elijah Burris. So you just can't focus your attention on one person. You have to focus it on multiple people. What do you think about their stats in the game?
I think it was personally good. They did win by 1 point, 21-20 against Don Bosco. It was a really good game, but I think they utilized their weapons how they're supposed to utilize their weapons because they have all those star players, the receivers and their running back. And then this week on Thursday they're playing St. Peter's Prep
at Hinchcliffe Stadium, so it should be a big venue, a good game.
Yeah, what are your thoughts about this upcoming week against them?
I definitely think St. Peter's, I mean, they're a program of they're either good or they're not. So, and I think this is one of those years where they're just kind of in between. But this is one of DePaul's best years, I think, in a while. So I definitely think DePaul will go in there and get the job done.
Yeah, so now I wanted to move to PCTI, who's been, in my opinion, having a downward spiral. They just lost to Irvington, so now I feel like they're not really utilizing what they had. They came out, fired out, undefeated. They had all those weapons that they could have been using, but now it's like they're going slowly downgrading from them.
I think when you talk about a team like PCTI, I mean, they started off 5-0, which any program, you love it. And then 2 weeks ago, they lost to Ramapo, and now this past week, they lost to Irvington. So it definitely looks like they were going up, and now they're heading down. So what do you think about their previous 2 weeks?
I think, well, they had Gabe Miles, their quarterback, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. They had Ian McDuffie for 56 yards and Brandon Ramirez for 1 touchdown. Then they had Gabe Miles, which is also another of their weapon, rushing for 72 yards. And I think ultimately, if they have to start using those weapons more, just like we talked about DePaul's using those weapons very effectively, which is helping them have a 6-0 record, maybe a 7-0 record after this week. But I think PCTI has to have that commitment to use all those power players that they have.
Yeah, I definitely think they have to start, utilizing their weapons as they can be more effective. I mean, they have 2 more games left. I mean, just same with every other team in the Jersey. They have Passaic and Clifton, who I think they'll definitely roll through Passaic, but Clifton will definitely be a challenge. And in the Group 5 playoff bracket, I mean, Group 5 is no joke. Like, there's a lot of great teams in there. You have Union City, Ridgewood, Phillipsburg, a lot of great teams that they're going to have to face. So if they're going to want to make a run in the Group 5 playoffs, they're going to have to start utilizing those weapons for their play style.
So what do you think, because you said about Clifton, what do you think how do you think the score is going to be, and how do you think they're going to be able to utilize the
I'd say think Clifton, I mean, they're kind of like a fish in the pond right now. Like, they have their good weeks and they have their bad weeks. So I think it depends on what kind of Clifton team we're going to see this week. I mean, I think PCTI should get the win but who knows how PCTI is going to be if they're still in that downward spiral, or if Clifton has another good week. So I think it'll be a good matchup, definitely.
Yeah. So this is it for today. Thanks for tuning in for another great week in Wayne Sports Network. As always, I'm Ilian Nunez, accompanied by Demikoff. Have a good one.